welcome to a new Wadster betting diary video. Today's video is going to be all about creating a portfolio for your tipsters at the Betfair Exchange. I'm going to provide details of 7 different services that I would recommend for following at the Betfair Exchange and give some general advice as to what you want when following a Betfair Exchange tipster and why I've put together this portfolio as my recommended options. The first thing I want to say when considering your Betfair Exchange portfolio is to remember that at Betfair they're going to be in higher limits markets. The bets are going to be sent at later times. For example, for wrong odds racing, a lot of horse race tipsters are posting in the early evening when the markets are a lot less efficient, whereas at BSP it's right towards the market maturity. The point I'm getting at with this is to drop expectations in terms of ROI. ROI is not likely to be as high on the Betfair Exchange, and you have to be more used to withstanding losing periods, kind of drawdowns of 50 points plus because of the ROI being lower. That has to be an expectation, and for your betting bank to kind of compensate for that, generally for Betfair Exchange friendly services, I think you should be kind of upping your betting bank a little bit. So say if your betting bank's usually 100 points, maybe 150, which is obviously dependent on the odds as well, but as a general pointer, a little bit larger so you can weather drawdowns easier. The first service that I want to talk about is Filipi Football, which has been a great service to date and a real consistent one in terms of the percentage of profitable months, which is just what you want on the Betfair Exchange. Started off out in November with 2 profitable months to start, and then this year 6 out of 7 months basically profitable, which takes it to 8 out of 9 overall, and an ROI of 12%, which is excellent. If you are able to bet on the Betfair Exchange, the odds are very much possible to catch. I often find that there might be a few weekends where you get slightly worse, but there are often weekends where you get slightly better than the odds promoted. So it kind of evens out with this service. So I would imagine that the vast majority of members are very much in the kind of profit range, very close to what the stated figures are suggesting. The second service I'm going to talk about is both teams to score, also known as Goals Galore Predictor Bot. After a difficult period of variance in March and April to start the service, the recent period has been very solid with around 55 points of profit on the Betfair Exchange since April, and averaging close to 10 points of profit a month for the last 6 months. There have been some really excellent strike rate periods. There was 8 out of 9 winning selections last weekend. Like with Filipi's service, it's a very low maintenance one to follow, with the vast majority of bets being sent in the morning. The bets are easy to match for the most part, and if there are occasional ones that don't match, if you set them to match for the start, they'll generally hit within a few minutes. Overall now, Ollie's service has an ROI of 5% after commission, which is very decent for their Betfair Exchange, and if we look at it since May, that ROI is probably closer to 8 to 10%, so very good from a statistical perspective in that viewpoint as well. The next service to talk about is Wrong Odds Racing, run by Kieran, and Kieran's a very experienced bettor who has many different systems. Delighted to be able to have his war system on here, which has gone really well for the last for 4 or 5 months or so. Over 20 points profit in both September and August, around 50 points of profit overall. Now the ROI is at 5-6%. There's always the possibility that he's able to introduce new systems onto the bot in future to make these returns even stronger. So I think it's a service that will continue to go from strength to strength, hopefully, in future. Then we move on to Houdini, who had one of the most amazing months in February with 70 points profit if you include all the bets. These here are the results just for the Betfair group. So overall 58 points of profit, and this means that there are certain bets at Pinnacle that you can't take at the Betfair Exchange, such as team totals, so they get excluded to those at Betfair. So if you join to receive only Betfair groups for his service, you would then you would select the groups option and you can turn Betfair on. So if you don't have Pinnacle, it's possible to follow the bets at Betfair only, and as stated, there's been 58 points of profit so far to the service at the Betfair Exchange, and an ROI close to 5%. Houdini does provide plenty of volume. Excited for his service to be returning in just a few weeks now. The fifth service to talk about is the service that has made the most profit at the Betfair Exchange for any bot service so far by quite a distance. Steegolf Tips had an absolutely stunning first 3 months to the bot with winners left, right and centre. Unbelievably, something close to 200 points of profit. Multiple winners at probably around 5 or 6 winners at 25 to 1 plus. So absolutely stunning start to his time on the bot here. Of course, with golf, the odds ranges are far higher. So when you get losing periods, they're also going to be more higher, especially with Simon having a fairly aggressive staking plan on the bot. So you do really need to have a betting bank of kind of 150 points, but already you would have doubled that if following the tips from the start, as he's made 133 points on the bet bots already for the Betfair Exchange. You can't really look at the short-term results too much on a service like golf. The variance is always going to be stretched out. The final 2 options I'm going to talk about, they might come across as a bit lacking objectivity from a statistical perspective, but from an intuitive perspective, I would really recommend JP Draws, because I've been working with him now a lot more in terms of looking at the draws themselves, and I felt at the start of the year there were certain criterias that maybe weren't being considered for the draws, and generally he'll send the bets when there's a consensus between my opinion and his opinion. And you know, it's still early days in terms of the European football season, but it's going to be a service that will pick up in volume over the months ahead. He's also sending his both teams to score selections, which are also going through the same process of me having a look, and it's a kind of almost a collaborative service at this point where we bounce ideas off each other. He'll give me the selections and I'll be telling him what I think. And on a general level, I'm confident that this service is going to make profit, and I know you can look at the past results sometimes, and you know, you can create a narrative either way for either wins or losses. But my intuition, and I do think intuition in betting is important, is that, you know, he's now on the right track, and it wouldn't be a big surprise at all to me if suddenly you find this service making 5-6 green months in a row, and people that jump on at this point do well. So yeah, obviously a bit of a wild card there, but another wild card to come with discussing my own service, because it's been a very difficult year and I don't want to really skirt around that generally minus 77 points for all my bets on the BetBot that I use. Is, you know, it's a terrible figure, but is also one we need to take into context. I've had many years where, you know, 2018, 2017 were both over 100 points of profit before I started on the bot, and apart from last year was small profit, but not a great year either. But on a general level, I've made profit in, you know, 7 out of 8 years, and this is my first real rough year, but it's a year where I've personally feel like I've learned a lot. I definitely think the tennis markets in particular are really tricky at the moment, so I'm being very kind of patient with that and not sending many selections. But I do really feel that my football selections will be able to turn over a decent profit over time. Minus 10 points on the bot, but on the free tips channel where I sent a number of selections, I was up 30 points for the ones that I sent. So, and on a general personal level, my football bets have been going well. So, you know, variance really hasn't been kind to me on my bot this year either. Like, personally, I'm certainly not doing as badly as the results state, but it is what it is. And, you know, I'd rather let the action in future results do the talking than kind of try and justify following me at the moment, which is why I don't talk about my service too much. But I do just want to give that heads up that I really do expect to make profit in the future, and would be very disappointed if you know, in 3 or 4 years time that I don't have a tipping service because I've not turned it around, so to speak. So yeah, that is the summary of your Betfair Exchange portfolio that I would recommend. To clarify, there are 7 services that I personally would advise for following at the Betfair Exchange, and those are, you know, my own service, Wrong Odds Racing, Filipi Football, Goals Galore, Houdini, JP, and Steegolf. I also think, like, over time, I do really think the tennis markets are tricky right now, but I'm sure that a Visking and Carrot Fix over time will make profit. Even though, as I said, I think the tennis markets are just quite difficult with the current cohort of players, which I might sort of discuss in another video. But yeah, cheers guys, I hope you enjoyed, and if you are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe and like the video, and also to share with your friends, and to get involved in this BetBot setup. If you're making money, the least you can do for us is you know, spread the word and allow our tipsters to reap the benefits of their services, because they really deserve that, all that they're able to earn from their excellent results that they're only getting paid for through the profit that you're making.